Elijah Henderson had spent a lifetime upholding justice, dignity, and respect. But when an innocent visit to an upscale hotel turned into an unjust confrontation, Elijah faced discrimination head-on, testing his strength, composure, and lifelong commitment to fairness. Accused, humiliated, but never defeated, Elijah embarked on a courageous journey, uncovering deep-rooted prejudice hidden behind the luxury of the hotel's walls. With each revelation, allies joined his cause, amplifying his voice against those who believed they were untouchable. In a powerful battle of integrity versus corruption, Elijah Henderson stood firm, igniting change that reached far beyond himself, impacting communities and institutions alike. Witness his incredible story of bravery, resilience, and unwavering commitment to justice. Was Elijah right to challenge the system? What would you have done in his place? Join the conversation. Like, comment, and subscribe to support stories that truly matter. Elijah Henderson stepped out of the sleek black sedan and glanced upwards, shielding his eyes from the midday sun to take in the grand facade of the Riverside Grand Hotel. Known as a reserved, respected figure in his community, Elijah was a man whose calm presence spoke louder than words. At 72, his silver hair meticulously groomed and his suit impeccably tailored, Elijah carried himself with an effortless dignity that spoke of decades spent on the judicial bench, presiding fairly and firmly over countless cases. As Elijah walked into the elegant lobby, adorned with chandeliers and tasteful marble decor, he noted the soft hum of conversation from guests leisurely milling around or checking in at the front desk. His footsteps echoed slightly, resonating on the polished marble flooring as he approached the reception desk, pulling behind him a modest, well-traveled suitcase. "Good afternoon, sir," greeted a young receptionist warmly. "Welcome to the Riverside Grand Hotel. How may I assist you today?" Elijah smiled kindly. "Good afternoon. I have a reservation under Henderson, Elijah Henderson." The receptionist clicked briefly at her keyboard, her expression professional yet welcoming. "Of course, Mr. Henderson, we've been expecting you. You'll be staying with us through the weekend, correct?" "Yes, visiting family," Elijah responded pleasantly, glancing around appreciatively. "It's been years since I've been in town, and I must say the place hasn't lost its charm." Before the receptionist could reply, a sharply dressed man with an air of authority approached swiftly from behind the counter. His name badge read clearly, Marcus Grayson, hotel manager. "Is there an issue here?" Marcus interjected abruptly, eyeing Elijah with an unmistakable suspicion, his voice carrying an undertone of impatience. "No issue at all," Elijah replied calmly, offering a reassuring smile. "Simply checking in." Marcus studied Elijah, his gaze lingering skeptically on the elderly man's dignified attire. "I see. May I see your identification and the credit card you used for booking, please?" Elijah nodded calmly, retrieving the requested documents from his jacket pocket. As Marcus scrutinized them closely, far more meticulously than typical hotel policy would demand, Elijah observed the discreet glances from other guests in the lobby. He maintained a composed demeanor, quietly aware of the unnecessary scrutiny but choosing to remain dignified in the face of Marcus's clearly intentional discomfort. After an uncomfortably prolonged examination, Marcus reluctantly handed back Elijah's identification, visibly unsatisfied but having found nothing amiss. "Very well, Mr. Henderson. Your room is on the 7th floor, suite 702. "Thank you," Elijah replied evenly, his voice carrying the weight of unspoken disapproval yet maintaining polite courtesy. Marcus offered no further words of welcome, retreating briskly to his office behind the reception area without another glance. The young receptionist, visibly embarrassed by Marcus's behavior, quickly handed Elijah his keycard. "Please let us know if you need anything, Mr. Henderson." "Thank you, young lady," Elijah responded warmly, placing the keycard carefully into his pocket. As he walked towards the elevator, Elijah's mind revisited similar uncomfortable encounters from earlier in his life, moments he had hoped were left behind decades ago. Yet here they were again, surfacing quietly, sharply in places unexpected, reminding him of the delicate, often invisible lines drawn by prejudice. But as the elevator doors closed quietly, his reflection showed a face unshaken, resolute, calm, and dignified. He knew the journey ahead was still uncertain, but Elijah Henderson had long since learned how to navigate storms with unwavering composure. Settling into Suite 702, Elijah carefully placed his suitcase on the bed, glancing appreciatively around the comfortable yet understated elegance of his accommodations. The room boasted classic decor, rich wood furniture, and a view overlooking a tranquil riverside scene. For a moment, Elijah allowed himself to relax into the peaceful setting, sinking into a plush armchair by the window. Yet, despite the serenity, the uneasy feeling stirred by the incident at the front desk lingered uncomfortably beneath his calm exterior. Elijah sighed deeply, reaching into his pocket to retrieve his phone. He briefly considered calling his daughter Marion to let her know he had arrived safely but paused, hesitant to burden her with unnecessary worry. Marian was meticulous, kind-hearted, and fiercely protective, traits inherited from Elijah himself. Deciding to delay the call, Elijah placed the phone aside, allowing himself a moment of quiet contemplation instead. His thoughts drifted to his earlier years, vivid memories surfacing effortlessly. He recalled the first days of his legal career when the barriers of prejudice had seemed insurmountable. Elijah had entered the judiciary at a time when few black men had walked those halls, much less presided over a courtroom. He remembered the skeptical gazes and dismissive whispers, the constant pressure to prove himself worthy of a seat at the judicial bench. And yet, through perseverance, calm determination, and an unwavering commitment to justice, Elijah had steadily earned respect from colleagues, community members, and even former skeptics. Now retired, Elijah rarely encountered such overt disrespect anymore. Yet today's incident with Marcus Grayson had awakened old wounds, resurfacing emotions he believed long since settled. Meanwhile, downstairs in his office tucked discreetly behind the reception area, Marcus paced restlessly, anger simmering beneath his composed exterior. "Did you see that man's arrogance?" Marcus complained bitterly to Jeremy, his assistant manager who stood uncomfortably silent. "Coming in here acting as if he owns the place. You saw it, didn't you?" Jeremy hesitated, clearly uneasy. Honestly, Marcus, he seemed respectful enough. He had a reservation and his paperwork was in perfect order. Marcus scoffed dismissively, shaking his head sharply. "That's exactly the problem, Jeremy. People like him think they can fool us by dressing up, acting respectable, but I can always spot the troublemakers." Jeremy looked down at the floor, clearly conflicted but unwilling or unable to openly challenge his superior. Marcus, sensing Jeremy's discomfort, softened his tone slightly but maintained his stance firmly. "Listen, Jeremy, I know how things should run here. I've seen guests like him before, they always cause problems sooner or later." Marcus leaned forward, resting both hands on the polished mahogany desk, his voice lowering to an intense whisper. "We have an image to maintain, our regular clientele expects a certain standard. We can't afford incidents or bad press." Jeremy sighed quietly, still not convinced but too cautious to push further. "All right, Marcus, but please just keep things professional. We don't want unnecessary complications." Marcus straightened, his expression hardening once more. "I'll handle things as I see fit, just make sure the staff is alert and keeps an eye on Mr. Henderson." Back in his suite, Elijah decided it was finally time to call Marian. He dialed her number, her warm voice immediately bringing him comfort. "Dad, you made it okay, I was just about to call you." Elijah smiled gently, feeling relief flood through him. "I'm fine, sweetheart, just settled in." "The hotel is lovely, the views are spectacular." Marian paused briefly, intuitive as always. "You sound a bit off, Dad, did something happen?" Elijah hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "Just a minor inconvenience at check-in, nothing serious." "Dad," Marian's voice carried an edge of protective concern. "Please don't dismiss it, you know you can talk to me." Elijah sighed, grateful for his daughter's perceptiveness but unwilling to trouble her with something he still hoped was isolated. "I promise, Marian, if it becomes something worth mentioning, you'll be the first to know. For now, let's focus on the reunion. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone tomorrow." Marian relented softly, sensing her father's need for space. "All right, Dad, just know I'm always here." Ending the call, Elijah leaned back in his chair, his gaze drifting toward the peaceful river below. Despite his outward calm, he knew from experience that issues like these were rarely isolated. Yet Elijah was no stranger to challenges. He had spent a lifetime carefully navigating them, steadfast in his belief in justice and dignity. As dusk began to settle over the city, casting a warm, golden glow through his window, Elijah resolved quietly yet firmly that no matter what lay ahead, he would face it with the same quiet strength and integrity that had guided him through every previous storm. Morning sunlight streamed through the curtains, bathing Elijah's suite in a gentle glow. After a restful night, Elijah rose early, methodically preparing for the day ahead. He dressed meticulously, opting for a dark navy suit that carried both dignity and warmth, symbolic of the careful balance he maintained throughout his life. The morning brought renewed optimism, as Elijah anticipated reuniting with family members he hadn't seen in years. With time before meeting his family, Elijah decided to stop by the hotel's front desk to clarify details about the evening's banquet arrangements. He approached the desk, the quiet lobby humming gently with early morning activities. At the counter, a different receptionist from yesterday, an older woman with a kind, professional demeanor, greeted him warmly. "Good morning, Mr. Henderson. How may I assist you today?" she asked courteously. Elijah returned her pleasant greeting with a smile. "Good morning. I wanted to confirm the details for tonight's banquet reservation under the Henderson family." As she began typing, Marcus Grayson emerged from his office, noticing Elijah immediately. His eyes narrowed and a faint scowl formed as he briskly approached the desk, interjecting without hesitation. "Is there a problem here again, Mr. Henderson?" Marcus's voice held a forced civility but clearly conveyed distrust. No problem at all, Elijah calmly replied, meeting Marcus's gaze directly. I'm merely verifying tonight's reservation details for my family's event. Marcus, with exaggerated politeness intended to mask his irritation, addressed the receptionist sharply. Allow me to handle this personally. The receptionist hesitated, glanced apologetically toward Elijah, and quietly stepped aside. Marcus stared at the computer screen briefly, feigning thoroughness. It seems there's some confusion about your reservation, he remarked coldly. Elijah maintained his composure. I'm certain everything was arranged correctly. Could you please check again? Marcus's face darkened subtly. Our banquet room bookings are for our premium guests. I will need additional verification of your reservation and payment method again. Elijah's eyebrows rose slightly, his voice remaining measured and calm. I already provided all necessary documentation yesterday. Is there a reason you continue to question my legitimacy? Guests nearby began subtly noticing the tension, slowing their pace or pausing conversations to discreetly observe the exchange. Marcus leaned in slightly, his tone lowering with a controlled hostility. It's standard procedure, Mr. Henderson, especially in cases like yours. Elijah, maintaining eye contact, chose his next words carefully. And what exactly do you mean by cases like mine, Mr. Grayson? Marcus hesitated for a fraction of a second, visibly irritated at being challenged. I mean cases requiring additional security measures, he retorted unconvincingly. We have to be cautious about events and who organizes them. I see, Elijah said softly but firmly, his tone unwavering yet charged with quiet authority. Let me be clear, Mr. Grayson, I expect respectful and fair treatment. Any further attempts to undermine my reservation or reputation will not be tolerated. Marcus visibly bristled at Elijah's composed rebuke, the carefully concealed hostility now openly surfacing. Are you threatening me, Mr. Henderson? He asked, his voice dangerously low. No, Elijah calmly clarified. I'm stating facts and setting clear expectations. I would hope your professionalism guides your next actions accordingly. Realizing the growing audience around them, Marcus quickly attempted to regain composure. Straightening abruptly, he forced a brittle smile. Of course, Mr. Henderson, your banquet details are here, perfectly clear. I hope your event tonight meets your expectations. Without another word, Marcus turned sharply and retreated to his office, leaving a palpable tension in the lobby. The receptionist, visibly embarrassed, stepped forward with sincere professionalism. I apologize deeply for any misunderstanding, Mr. Henderson. Here are all your confirmed details for this evening. Thank you, Elijah responded, his voice gentle yet tinged with lingering frustration. As he walked slowly from the desk, he noticed sympathetic and apologetic glances from several guests who had witnessed the interaction. Elijah's thoughts churned as he entered the elevator, Marcus's discriminatory hostility echoing troubling memories from his past. Despite decades of hard-earned respect and dignity, incidents like this painfully reminded Elijah how quickly dignity could be challenged, even by those least deserving. But Elijah also felt a renewed determination. His encounter had been public, witnessed by guests and staff. He understood the power of visibility and accountability, recognizing that while the battle was exhausting, the importance of confronting injustice outweighed personal discomfort. With steady resolve, Elijah mentally prepared himself, not just for tonight's family reunion, but also for the larger journey ahead, one he knew would demand his unwavering strength and clarity. Returning to his suite, Elijah closed the door softly behind him, momentarily leaning against it to steady himself. The recent confrontation with Marcus replayed vividly in his mind, stirring a mixture of frustration, disappointment, and resolve. Elijah was no stranger to adversity. His career and personal life had been peppered with challenges born of prejudice and ignorance, but each encounter was no less draining than the last. Gathering himself with a deep, calming breath, Elijah carefully placed the banquet details on a table, methodically organizing his thoughts and determining his next steps. Knowing the importance of documentation, Elijah retrieved a small notebook from his briefcase, meticulously recording the details of his interactions with Marcus. His notes were precise, factual, and free of emotional embellishment. He understood from years of legal experience the power inherent in clear, accurate accounts. Satisfied with the details he captured, Elijah put the notebook securely back into his briefcase, recognizing its potential importance in the days ahead. Shortly afterward, a soft knock at his door drew Elijah's attention. He opened it to find Sarah Mitchell, the attorney he'd briefly met in the lobby earlier. Sarah, dressed professionally yet casually, carried herself with the poise and confidence characteristic of her accomplished career. Mr. Henderson, I hope I'm not disturbing you, she began gently, her expression warm yet concerned. Not at all, Ms. Mitchell, Elijah responded cordially, opening the door wider and stepping aside to invite her in. Please come inside. Sarah entered, quickly noting the orderly simplicity of Elijah's suite. I couldn't help overhearing your conversation downstairs earlier, she started cautiously, watching his reaction closely. Marcus's behavior was completely inappropriate and frankly unacceptable. Elijah nodded slowly, deeply appreciating her acknowledgement yet maintaining a reserved calm. Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. It is comforting to know someone else observed what happened. Unfortunately, experiences like these are not entirely unfamiliar to me. Sarah frowned slightly, frustration evident in her voice. And they shouldn't be. I've known Marcus professionally through community events. Unfortunately, he has a troubling reputation for similar incidents, although nothing has been officially pursued or documented yet. Elijah listened carefully, his expression reflective yet firm. People like Marcus rely on their behavior remaining unchecked, allowing it to continue. It's a situation I've encountered far too often, both personally and professionally. I understand, Sarah affirmed, sincerity and determination clear in her voice. If you decide to formally address this issue, I'd be willing to assist you in gathering evidence and witness statements. This hotel is prominent and Marcus's behavior needs to be addressed comprehensively. Elijah considered Sarah's offer thoughtfully. Her willingness to help and her position as a respected local attorney made her an invaluable ally. He had initially intended to handle this quietly, but understood the broader implications and responsibilities that came with confronting discrimination openly. I appreciate your offer greatly, Elijah finally replied. Your support could indeed make a significant difference. Let's discuss further after tonight's banquet. I wouldn't want this issue to overshadow the family reunion, but afterward, we can strategize on how best to move forward. Sarah agreed readily, extending her hand confidently. Then we have a plan. Please enjoy your evening, Mr. Henderson. If you need anything before then, you have my number. After Sarah's departure, Elijah felt encouraged and validated, aware that the confrontation ahead would be challenging yet crucial. He reflected quietly, recognizing the importance of allies like Sarah, whose commitment to justice provided vital reinforcement in difficult situations. Meanwhile, in his office downstairs, Marcus sat tensely behind his desk, nervously tapping his fingers against the polished wood surface. Jeremy stood nearby, uncomfortable yet obligated to listen. Did you see how that man spoke to me? Marcus vented bitterly, his voice tense with indignation. Acting superior, challenging my authority openly, I will not tolerate disrespect in my hotel. Jeremy carefully chose his words, cautious but increasingly concerned by Marcus's actions. Perhaps, Marcus, we might be taking things too far. Mr. Henderson has every right to be here and guests noticed how you treated him. It's not a good look for the hotel. Marcus shot Jeremy a piercing glare. I will handle this my way. If we allow guests to openly challenge authority, discipline and respect will vanish overnight. Make sure everyone knows that Henderson is trouble. I want eyes on him at all times. Jeremy reluctantly nodded, feeling helpless but fearful of confronting Marcus's growing irrationality directly. Understood, Marcus, he murmured quietly, hoping privately the situation would resolve itself without further escalation. Back upstairs, Elijah completed his preparations for the banquet, taking a moment to glance out at the peaceful riverside view below. He drew strength from the serene vista, reminding himself of the deeper values that guided his life: dignity, perseverance, and justice. While uncertain of exactly what lay ahead, Elijah felt a renewed determination and quiet confidence in his ability to navigate whatever challenges awaited him. As evening approached and Elijah prepared to join his family, he resolved firmly that despite Marcus's hostility, he would not be defined or diminished by discrimination. Instead, he would confront it strategically and calmly, ensuring accountability and justice were not merely words, but tangible realities he had dedicated his life to upholding. The banquet hall buzzed with joyful energy as family members embraced, laughter echoing warmly through the elegantly decorated room. Elijah Henderson stood quietly at the entrance, his gaze softening with happiness as he watched familiar faces, some he hadn't seen in years, reconnect with joy. Despite the emotional toll of his interactions with Marcus Grayson, Elijah felt a comforting sense of belonging among his loved ones, momentarily putting aside the tension from earlier. Marion spotted her father from across the room, quickly making her way toward him. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she hugged him warmly. Dad. Everyone's been asking for you. I'm so glad you're here. Wouldn't miss it for the world, Elijah replied softly, returning her embrace. The familiar comfort of family helped ease some of the heaviness lingering in his heart. However, Elijah's peace was briefly interrupted when he noticed Sarah Mitchell entering the banquet room, approaching him respectfully yet urgently. Elijah politely excused himself from Marian, sensing Sarah's presence likely involved matters they had discussed earlier. Sarah greeted Elijah discreetly, stepping aside with him to a quieter corner. "Mr. Henderson, apologies for disturbing your evening, but I wanted to update you. After our earlier conversation, I made discreet inquiries with hotel staff. It seems Marcus Grayson's behavior is not isolated. Multiple employees privately admitted witnessing his discriminatory actions in the past, though they're fearful of coming forward publicly." Elijah listened intently, nodding gravely. "Sadly, I'm not surprised. It's the hidden nature of such behavior that allows it to persist. People fear consequences for speaking out, especially when confronting powerful individuals." Sarah agreed earnestly, her tone firm yet empathetic. "That's precisely why your case is so important. Your standing in the community and your experience with the legal system put you in a unique position to challenge this injustice effectively, but it will require careful planning and considerable evidence." Elijah's eyes narrowed thoughtfully as he absorbed her words. "Indeed, the issue goes beyond Marcus himself, it's systemic. However, the path forward won't be easy or without consequence. We must proceed methodically, ensuring every step is documented thoroughly." "I completely agree," Sarah said determinedly. "I've already begun collecting preliminary witness statements discreetly, and we can formally document everything after tonight's event. Several employees are ready to testify anonymously if necessary, fearing retaliation from hotel management otherwise." Elijah felt deeply appreciative of Sarah's proactive approach and evident dedication to justice. He considered the implications carefully. "Your assistance is invaluable, Sarah. But it's crucial we approach this strategically, prioritizing the protection of those involved. Witnesses must feel secure and supported throughout the process." Sarah nodded confidently. "Absolutely. Protecting witnesses is paramount. I've already contacted trusted colleagues who specialize in workplace discrimination cases. We'll ensure every precaution is taken to safeguard everyone involved." As they conversed, Marian approached cautiously, sensing the serious nature of their exchange. "Everything all right, Dad?" she asked softly, her concern evident. Elijah smiled reassuringly, briefly glancing toward Sarah, who nodded subtly in approval. "Marian, this is Sarah Mitchell, an attorney helping me address the incident I mentioned earlier. Sarah, this is my daughter, Marian." Marian exchanged greetings politely but couldn't hide her worry. "Dad, is it more serious than you initially indicated?" Elijah hesitated momentarily before deciding honesty was best. "It may be, Marian. Sarah discovered a troubling pattern of behavior involving the hotel manager. While it complicates things, it also means addressing the issue could prevent future incidents. Sarah is assisting in preparing a formal complaint." Marian's concern quickly transformed into determination. "Then I'm here to support you however needed. Our family has always stood together, and this won't be any different." Touched by her resilience, Elijah nodded appreciatively, squeezing her hand gently. "Thank you, Marian. Family support makes all the difference." Sarah smiled warmly, clearly impressed by the strength of their bond. "With your family's backing and the preliminary evidence we've collected, we have a strong foundation. Together, we can ensure Marcus Grayson and the hotel face accountability." "Then let's proceed carefully but decisively," Elijah declared quietly yet firmly. "Tomorrow, we formally begin documenting everything in detail and gathering additional evidence. Tonight, let's enjoy the presence of family and celebrate the unity and strength that will guide us through this challenge." Sarah respectfully withdrew, promising to reconnect the next day to formalize their next steps. Elijah returned to the warmth and laughter of his family, bolstered by their love and support. As the evening progressed, Elijah felt a deepened sense of resolve, knowing he was no longer confronting injustice alone. With the strength of his family and Sarah's determined advocacy, Elijah knew they would face the difficult road ahead united, empowered, and ultimately victorious. The following morning, Elijah awoke early, energized by the momentum of the previous evening. As the sun cast its gentle morning glow across the city, Elijah prepared methodically, his mind sharply focused on the task ahead. After breakfast, he met Sarah Mitchell in a quiet, discreet coffee shop just a few blocks away from the hotel to plan their strategy without attracting undue attention. Sarah, already waiting with a meticulously organized file, greeted Elijah warmly. "Good morning, Mr. Henderson. I trust you slept well." "Very well, thank you," Elijah replied graciously, taking a seat across from her. It's encouraging to know we're making tangible progress. Indeed, we are, Sarah confirmed confidently, sliding the file toward him. I spent last night speaking with several hotel employees willing to share their experiences privately. Their statements indicate Marcus Grayson's pattern of behavior is longstanding and widespread, though previous complaints appear to have been suppressed by management. Elijah opened the file, scanning the detailed testimonies carefully. He felt a surge of resolve, mixed with sadness at the realization of how many had suffered silently. It's deeply troubling. Marcus's actions represent a much broader problem within the hotel, reflecting institutional complicity and systemic discrimination. Sarah nodded gravely. Exactly. I've uncovered evidence that at least 5 formal complaints against Marcus have been filed over the past 3 years, each conveniently dismissed or minimized by senior management. There's clear evidence of intimidation tactics used against employees who attempted to speak up, leading to their silence or departure from the hotel. Elijah's expression hardened, recognizing the severity of what they faced. Suppression of evidence and witness intimidation significantly escalate the seriousness of our complaint. It is imperative we meticulously document everything and ensure our evidence is indisputable. Sarah agreed wholeheartedly. I've arranged secure meetings today with 3 employees, 2 current and 1 former, who have first-hand accounts of Marcus's discriminatory actions. They're understandably nervous, but I've assured them of complete confidentiality and legal protection. Their testimonies will solidify our case substantially. That's excellent, Elijah acknowledged appreciatively. Their courage in speaking out will be crucial. Has Marcus or hotel management shown signs of suspicion regarding our activities? Not yet, Sarah replied cautiously. But Marcus is increasingly agitated, aware of mounting scrutiny following your encounters. He's reportedly instructed staff to closely monitor your movements, seeking any pretext to discredit you. Elijah smiled faintly, undaunted. Then we must ensure our actions remain transparent and above reproach. Their attempts to undermine our credibility will only strengthen our position if we handle ourselves wisely and professionally. Sarah smiled approvingly, visibly impressed by Elijah's steady leadership and unwavering composure. Precisely. We'll proceed carefully. I've already engaged a private investigator discreetly to review hotel records and security footage for any additional evidence of Marcus's misconduct. The investigator has agreed to handle the matter with extreme discretion. Elijah nodded thoughtfully, absorbing the meticulousness of Sarah's preparations. You've covered every base remarkably well, Sarah. Your diligence and commitment to justice are truly commendable. Sarah's expression softened warmly. Your presence and calm determination inspired me to move swiftly and decisively. Together, we have a powerful opportunity to address injustice thoroughly and create lasting change. Their conversation continued productively, planning each step in detail, carefully outlining the next critical phase of evidence gathering. By afternoon, Sarah had successfully conducted private interviews with the courageous employees, securing their compelling testimonies alongside tangible proof of their claims. Meanwhile, Elijah spent his day thoughtfully reflecting on their progress and carefully preparing his personal statement. His judicial experience had taught him the significant impact of precise, factual narratives free from emotional exaggeration. He carefully drafted and revised, determined to clearly document each interaction, ensuring his words carried undeniable integrity and weight. By evening, Sarah returned with promising news. Our investigator uncovered security footage clearly depicting Marcus's discriminatory confrontations, not only with you, but several previous incidents involving other guests. It's exactly the kind of concrete evidence we needed. Elijah felt relief and gratitude flood through him. This substantially strengthens our position. Evidence like this is critical in confronting institutional denial. Marcus may feel invulnerable now, but clarity and truth have undeniable power. As night fell, Elijah and Sarah convened once more to review their comprehensive findings. Together, they compiled a meticulously organized file, clearly outlining each instance of misconduct, supported by testimonies, physical documentation, and irrefutable visual evidence. It was clear, methodical, and devastatingly effective. With the documentation securely prepared, Elijah and Sarah finalized plans to formally submit their complaint to the appropriate authorities the following morning. The gravity of the situation was clear, yet both felt resolute and emboldened by the overwhelming strength of their case. In the quiet stillness of his hotel suite that evening, Elijah reflected solemnly. His thoughts wandered to those who had suffered in silence, unable to challenge injustices safely. The task ahead was undoubtedly difficult, but Elijah's sense of duty remained steadfast. He knew from experience that meaningful change often required confronting discomfort head-on, exposing unpleasant truths so justice could prevail. As he retired for the evening, Elijah felt a profound sense of duty and quiet confidence. The path toward justice might be difficult, but with truth, courage, and meticulous planning, Elijah was prepared to face whatever came next, determined to ensure lasting change for all affected. The following morning, Elijah rose early, keenly aware of the significance of the day ahead. After carefully reviewing their evidence one final time, he met Sarah Mitchell in the hotel's lobby, both ready and determined to take formal action. Together, they proceeded to submit their meticulously compiled complaint and supporting documentation to the city's Human Rights Commission and local media, ensuring every detail was clearly articulated and indisputable. Within hours, their submission created ripples far beyond their initial expectations. Local journalists quickly picked up the story, drawn to the powerful narrative of Elijah Henderson, a highly respected retired judge courageously confronting systemic racism within a prestigious establishment. Soon, the Riverside Grand Hotel became the center of a rapidly intensifying media spotlight. The hotel's senior management reacted swiftly, attempting damage control through hastily prepared statements released publicly. Marcus Grayson found himself summoned to an emergency meeting in the executive boardroom, where tension hung thickly in the air. The senior executives, clearly rattled by the sudden media attention, grilled Marcus fiercely, demanding explanations for his conduct. "Marcus," began William Hartwell, the hotel's general manager, his tone stern and unyielding, "we've reviewed multiple complaints made against you. Why wasn't any of this disclosed to senior management?" Marcus shifted nervously, struggling to maintain his composure. "Those were minor misunderstandings, exaggerated incidents by disgruntled employees," he insisted defensively. "I handled each appropriately." William's eyes narrowed sharply, clearly skeptical. "Discrimination isn't a minor matter, Marcus. It appears you have endangered the reputation of this establishment by repeatedly abusing your authority. We cannot and will not tolerate such behavior." Marcus grew increasingly defensive, his frustration spilling into anger. "I've been loyal to this hotel for years. If I've been firm, it was only to maintain standards." "Standards?" interrupted Emily Carson, head of human resources, incredulously. "Multiple employees claim they faced retaliation for reporting your discriminatory behavior. Are you suggesting intimidation is part of our hotel's standard practice?" Marcus hesitated, suddenly aware of how isolated he had become. Realizing he was losing control, he shifted tactics. "Look, perhaps mistakes were made, but Henderson has clearly exaggerated the situation. He's trying to make trouble." "Mr. Henderson has presented irrefutable evidence," William interjected coldly, his voice low and authoritative. "We have seen security footage confirming his claims and testimonies from several staff members. Your attempts to deny accountability only compound the damage." Marcus paled visibly, his voice now barely above a whisper. "This isn't fair. You're siding with him over me, after all my dedication." "This isn't about personal loyalty," Emily stated firmly, her tone resolute. "It's about integrity, respect, and protecting the dignity of every individual associated with our establishment. We will conduct a full internal investigation immediately. Pending its outcome, you are suspended from your duties effective immediately." Marcus sat stunned, speechless as he absorbed the gravity of the consequences he faced. Outside, reporters and cameras gathered, capturing the unfolding drama, further intensifying scrutiny on the hotel. Meanwhile, Elijah and Sarah watched the media coverage unfold from a distance, their expressions solemn yet resolute. They recognized the magnitude of what their actions had triggered, fully aware that their fight had transcended personal grievances to reveal deeply entrenched institutional issues. "It's powerful," Sarah commented quietly, her eyes fixed on the television screen displaying the hotel's press conference. "They can't deny accountability any longer. The evidence is too compelling." "Indeed," Elijah affirmed thoughtfully. "But this is only the beginning. Institutional discrimination runs deep, often hidden behind layers of bureaucracy and silence. Uncovering it publicly ensures a necessary reckoning, but meaningful change will require sustained vigilance." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "We've ignited the spark, but you're right, the hard work lies ahead. This incident might force the hotel to address immediate wrongdoing, but broader systemic reforms must follow." Elijah, reflecting deeply, spoke with quiet determination. "Precisely. Our role now extends beyond this immediate confrontation. We must advocate tirelessly for policy changes that address root causes of discrimination. Accountability and transparency must become non-negotiable standards across industries. As the day progressed, further revelations emerged. Former employees and past guests began publicly sharing their own experiences of mistreatment at the hotel, painting a troubling picture of deeply embedded discrimination long overlooked by senior management. Public outrage grew swiftly, transforming Elijah's personal battle into a broader community-driven demand for justice and systemic reform. By evening, hotel executives faced unprecedented pressure, forced to acknowledge their failures publicly and commit to comprehensive internal investigations and reforms. The story had gained national attention, elevating discussions on racial discrimination and institutional accountability across the country. Elijah felt humbled by the powerful community response, yet remained steadfastly focused on ensuring tangible, lasting change. He recognized the significance of this turning point not merely as a personal victory but as an opportunity to set meaningful precedents, protecting countless others from future injustices. As night fell, Elijah retired to his suite, reflective yet resolute. Despite exhaustion from the day's events, he felt profoundly encouraged by the progress they had achieved. The journey ahead was still uncertain and undoubtedly challenging, but Elijah knew that the hardest battles often yielded the most transformative victories. Settling in for the night, Elijah felt deeply grateful, not only for the courage and determination of those who supported him, but also for the opportunity to meaningfully contribute to lasting justice and equality. Tomorrow, he knew, would mark the next critical phase of their fight, a fight he was more determined than ever to see through. In the days following the explosive revelations, Elijah Henderson found himself at the center of an intense public spotlight. The media's relentless attention highlighted both widespread support and significant backlash, a reminder that confronting institutional prejudice always came at a personal cost. Despite this, Elijah remained steady, fully aware of the challenging journey ahead. As scrutiny intensified, Marcus Grayson, now suspended and disgraced, became increasingly desperate. His resentment and humiliation turned swiftly to anger and retaliation. Recognizing his position had become tenuous, Marcus decided on an aggressive strategy aimed directly at discrediting Elijah and undermining the legitimacy of the investigation. Marcus began a covert campaign of misinformation, spreading rumors through select contacts within the hotel and community. He suggested Elijah had exaggerated incidents for personal gain and was motivated by a hidden political agenda. Marcus exploited his network, leveraging friendships and influential connections to amplify these false claims, attempting to sway public opinion back in his favor. Simultaneously, hotel management, eager to limit further damage, also mounted resistance, albeit more subtly. Executives privately discouraged staff from speaking publicly, insinuating dire professional consequences for those cooperating with investigators. Though publicly supportive of accountability and transparency, internally, senior management scrambled to control the narrative, hoping to shield themselves from deeper institutional repercussions. Elijah, however, remained acutely aware of these tactics and carefully documented each attempt at intimidation or misinformation. Sarah Mitchell proved instrumental once again, strategically addressing each false claim swiftly and publicly, reinforcing Elijah's impeccable credibility through clear evidence and unwavering factual accuracy. During this challenging phase, Elijah leaned heavily on family support, especially from Marian, whose unwavering confidence bolstered him immensely. Marian was fiercely protective, frequently reminding her father that their family's integrity could withstand any attempt at character assassination. "Dad," Marian reassured him gently one evening, "everyone who truly knows you sees through Marcus's desperation. Truth and integrity always prevail eventually." "I know," Elijah responded quietly, deeply appreciating her support. "But these attacks are draining nonetheless. It's difficult seeing one's integrity publicly challenged, even falsely." Marian's voice softened sympathetically, yet her determination remained clear. "You've built a lifetime of respect and dignity. No temporary smear campaign can erase that legacy. We stand by you, and the community overwhelmingly supports you as well." Elijah smiled gratefully, her words renewing his resilience. He continued to meticulously organize documentation, calmly preparing responses for every attempt Marcus and the hotel made to undermine his credibility. Sarah's proactive communication with the media and transparency with investigative authorities ensured Marcus's campaign of misinformation failed to gain substantial traction. However, the most troubling development occurred when Marcus attempted to physically intimidate one of the key witnesses, a hotel employee who had bravely shared detailed accounts of Marcus's behavior. Late one evening, Marcus confronted the employee outside her home, issuing veiled threats intended to silence her. Distressed but courageous, the employee immediately informed Sarah and Elijah. Sarah swiftly alerted authorities, who took Marcus into custody briefly, charging him with witness intimidation and obstruction. Although Marcus secured bail quickly through influential connections, his actions severely damaged his credibility, publicly reinforcing Elijah's claims of systemic misconduct and abuse of power. The incident further galvanized public support for Elijah and intensified scrutiny on hotel management. Recognizing Marcus's increasingly erratic behavior had become a liability, the hotel executives distanced themselves sharply, publicly denouncing his actions and pledging full cooperation with investigative authorities moving forward. For Elijah, these developments reinforced the profound importance of their fight. Marcus's behavior starkly illustrated the systemic protections allowing discriminatory practices to persist, and Elijah became more determined than ever to hold everyone involved accountable, not merely Marcus, but also the entire institutional structure supporting him. Meanwhile, public demonstrations and community advocacy grew significantly, demanding comprehensive transparency and institutional accountability. Media coverage expanded nationally, with Elijah's case symbolizing broader struggles against racial injustice within influential institutions. His courage inspired others nationwide to speak openly about similar experiences, amplifying pressure on institutions to address systemic racism seriously and comprehensively. Despite Marcus's aggressive tactics, Elijah found unexpected strength and reassurance from the widespread community response. His calm and strategic approach had not only effectively neutralized Marcus's attempts, but had also deepened public understanding of the necessity for systemic change. As Elijah continued meticulously documenting every development, his resolve grew stronger. He recognized this confrontation was far larger than himself. It represented a pivotal moment for accountability and justice within the community and beyond. Elijah knew that continued resilience, strategic clarity, and unwavering integrity would guide him and others toward a meaningful resolution, ultimately ensuring lasting change. With renewed determination and clear purpose, Elijah prepared for the next critical step: the formal legal proceedings that would decisively address the injustices faced and define a powerful precedent for institutional accountability. Elijah understood clearly the challenges that awaited, yet felt empowered by the overwhelming support and clarity of their cause, ready to face whatever obstacles remained with calm certainty and unshakable resolve. The morning of the formal legal proceedings dawned clear and bright, symbolically resonant of the clarity and truth Elijah Henderson sought to reveal in court. The case had drawn significant public attention, with community members, media representatives, and advocacy groups assembling early outside the courthouse, underscoring the gravity and broad implications of the trial. Elijah arrived early, dressed impeccably in a dark suit, his posture dignified and composed despite the mounting pressure. Sarah Mitchell accompanied him, both exuding calm determination. Marion joined them, her quiet presence providing steadfast emotional support. As they entered the courthouse, Elijah noted with quiet gratitude the diverse assembly gathered in solidarity, demonstrating the broader societal yearning for justice and equality. Inside the courtroom, anticipation and tension filled the air. Marcus Grayson sat stiffly beside his legal team, visibly anxious yet defiant, occasionally glancing uneasily toward Elijah. Hotel executives present as observers maintained carefully neutral expressions, aware that the court's outcome would impact their institution profoundly. The judge, respected for fairness and integrity, opened proceedings firmly yet respectfully, clearly aware of the case's sensitivity and importance. Elijah's legal team, led capably by Sarah Mitchell, presented their opening statements with clarity, precision, and undeniable conviction. They methodically laid out a compelling narrative of Marcus's discriminatory behavior, meticulously supported by comprehensive documentation, powerful testimonies, and visual evidence. Witnesses were called forth, their testimonies moving and persuasive. Employees bravely described their personal experiences with Marcus, highlighting a consistent, troubling pattern of discrimination and harassment. Each witness was questioned thoroughly, their accounts remaining coherent, consistent, and deeply impactful. When Elijah himself took the stand, a respectful silence filled the courtroom. With calm composure and unwavering dignity, Elijah recounted his experiences at the hotel. His testimony was detailed, articulate, and free of exaggeration, reinforcing the undeniable truth of his claims. Elijah carefully explained how Marcus's behavior had not only affected him personally, but reflected deeper systemic issues tolerated by the hotel's management. Cross-examination attempts by Marcus's legal team failed to undermine Elijah's credibility. His calm demeanor and clear, factual responses proved impervious to distortion or manipulation. Marcus, visibly unsettled by Elijah's poised testimony, grew increasingly agitated, sensing the courtroom's perception shifting irrevocably against him. Finally, Marcus himself took the stand, hoping to reclaim control. However, under rigorous cross-examination from Sarah, Marcus's demeanor unraveled rapidly. His attempts at justification quickly collapsed into defensiveness, bitterness, and outright hostility, visibly shocking courtroom observers and clearly revealing the underlying prejudices driving his actions. Sarah's final questioning directly addressed Marcus's attempts to intimidate witnesses, eliciting reluctant admissions confirming his aggressive behavior. The resulting revelations decisively sealed Marcus's fate, leaving no doubt in the minds of observers about the extent of his misconduct and the complicity of the hotel's management. In closing arguments, Sarah powerfully articulated the broader implications of the trial, emphasizing the necessity of systemic accountability and lasting reform. Her words resonated deeply, reinforcing the profound societal importance of addressing discrimination openly, honestly, and decisively. After careful consideration, the judge delivered a firm, unequivocal ruling. Marcus was held fully accountable, found guilty on multiple charges, including discrimination, harassment, and witness intimidation. Significant financial penalties were levied against both Marcus personally and the hotel, alongside mandated systemic reforms intended to prevent future misconduct. The judge's decision elicited audible reactions from the gallery, a collective sigh of relief and spontaneous applause quickly subdued by courtroom decorum. Marcus sat stunned, fully comprehending for the first time the irreversible consequences of his actions. Hotel executives, humbled and embarrassed, acknowledged quietly the necessity of profound institutional change. Elijah felt deep relief and quiet satisfaction. He had never sought revenge or personal vindication. His purpose had always been accountability, justice, and meaningful systemic reform. The court's ruling affirmed his lifelong belief in the power and necessity of dignity, integrity, and resilience when confronting injustice. Emerging from the courthouse into the bright afternoon sunlight, Elijah felt profoundly moved by the heartfelt support greeting him from gathered community members, advocates, and media representatives. Marion stood by his side proudly, her support unwavering and deeply meaningful. Addressing the assembled crowd briefly but powerfully, Elijah emphasized the importance of sustained vigilance and collective responsibility in confronting discrimination, reminding everyone that true justice required ongoing commitment and systemic change. As he finished speaking, Elijah felt deeply grateful, not merely for personal vindication, but for the broader societal message the trial conveyed. He knew this victory represented a critical step toward lasting change, empowering others to stand courageously against injustice. With renewed optimism and resolve, Elijah left the courthouse, fully aware that his fight was far from over, yet confident in the transformative potential of the day's decisive ruling. He recognized clearly the profound responsibility accompanying this victory, to continue advocating tirelessly for justice, equality, and lasting institutional reform. In the days following the trial, Elijah Henderson experienced an outpouring of community support, gratitude, and respect that far exceeded anything he had anticipated. His courageous stance against injustice had resonated deeply, igniting conversations that extended far beyond the walls of the Riverside Grand Hotel. The community rallied around Elijah, honoring him as a symbol of dignity, resilience, and unwavering commitment to fairness. Media coverage continued extensively, elevating Elijah's story as a profound example of how calm determination, meticulous documentation, and unwavering integrity could effectively confront institutional racism. The Riverside Grand Hotel, now facing intense scrutiny, publicly committed to sweeping internal reforms, pledging significant resources toward staff training, transparent policies, and independent oversight to prevent future discrimination. Hotel management invited Elijah to participate as an advisor in their reform process, recognizing his extensive judicial experience and moral clarity as invaluable to establishing authentic, lasting change. Though initially hesitant, Elijah understood the broader significance of accepting the invitation, seeing it as an opportunity to positively impact countless lives far beyond his own. Throughout the community, Elijah's actions ignited deeper conversations about racial injustice and institutional accountability, prompting other organizations across the city and state to proactively examine and address their practices. Advocacy groups and community leaders publicly praised Elijah's dignified courage, inspiring others to challenge injustices in their own spheres effectively and constructively. Within his own family, Elijah's actions strengthened bonds and deepened mutual respect. Marian, immensely proud of her father, frequently expressed how inspired she was by his resilience and clarity of purpose. Their shared experience reinforced their already close relationship, bringing a renewed sense of unity, mutual admiration, and pride. "Dad, you've always taught us to stand firmly on principles," Marian said softly during a quiet family gathering shortly after the trial. "But watching you actually live those lessons so powerfully has impacted us all deeply. We're so proud of you." Elijah smiled gently, touched by her words. "Thank you, sweetheart. Your support gave me the strength to face this journey." Sarah Mitchell, whose steadfast advocacy proved pivotal throughout the process, continued working closely alongside Elijah, ensuring the hotel implemented promised changes thoroughly and transparently. Their collaborative relationship evolved into lasting friendship, built on mutual respect, shared dedication, and admiration for each other's steadfast commitment to justice. "You've set a powerful example, Mr. Henderson," Sarah said warmly during one of their follow-up meetings. "Your determination, integrity, and calm strength are inspiring a broader movement toward genuine accountability." Elijah, humble yet deeply appreciative, replied thoughtfully, "Justice isn't achieved overnight, nor does it belong solely to one individual. It requires collective commitment, resilience, and continued vigilance from all of us. If our experience sparks a meaningful shift, then our struggle will have been worthwhile." As weeks turned into months, tangible, lasting changes began to emerge. The hotel implemented robust diversity training programs, employee advocacy channels, and transparent grievance procedures. Other businesses and community institutions initiated similar reforms, citing Elijah's case as a critical catalyst. Elijah himself remained actively engaged, accepting invitations to speak publicly on systemic racism, institutional accountability, and the profound importance of dignity and integrity in advocacy. His quiet, compelling presence resonated deeply with audiences, fostering constructive conversations and inspiring ongoing community engagement. Within the hotel, former employees who had suffered silently under Marcus's authority experienced newfound empowerment and recognition, with several promoted into leadership roles overseeing policy reform and diversity initiatives. Witness protections introduced during Elijah's case became standard practices, empowering employees to speak freely without fear of retaliation. Marcus Grayson, held accountable through legal penalties and public exposure, became a cautionary example. He faced professional isolation and was required to participate in intensive sensitivity and anti-discrimination training as part of his restitution, underscoring the importance of genuine transformation rather than mere punishment. Elijah, reflecting quietly one evening overlooking the peaceful riverside view from his suite, a stark contrast to his initial arrival, felt profound gratitude and humility. The path had been undeniably challenging, yet deeply rewarding. His actions had not only confronted injustice directly, but also sparked lasting, systemic changes benefiting countless others. He knew clearly that true justice and equality required ongoing dedication, vigilance, and courage. Yet Elijah felt confident, knowing his experience had demonstrated unequivocally that calm strength, dignity, and integrity could profoundly impact society, inspiring meaningful, transformative change. Elijah's legacy was firmly established, not merely as a respected retired judge, but as a tireless advocate for dignity, accountability, and justice. His quiet resolve and unwavering clarity continued guiding and inspiring others, fostering hope, resilience, and determination in confronting injustice wherever it appeared. As Elijah prepared to depart the Riverside Grand Hotel, he did so with profound gratitude, not only for personal vindication but more importantly, for having significantly contributed toward creating a more equitable, just, and compassionate world. Stepping once more into the gentle warmth of sunlight, Elijah Henderson felt deeply fulfilled, confident in knowing that his actions had meaningfully shifted the course of history toward justice, fairness, and enduring change.